Hi gang, this is just going to be a informal review about how to set up a Respondus lockdown browser on your Blackboard Creative Test. Now if you don't use Test in Blackboard, if you use MyMathLab or if you use Alex or WebAssign or you create your own hard copy tests, this video won't help you. This video will only show you how to assign the browser settings to a test you created using Blackboard. So let's get started. One of the things you may have noticed is support has given us all these little pop-ups, so I'm going to have to delete those along the way. They might be good for most of y'all, but most of them get in my way. Alright, so what I've done is I've created a test in Blackboard. I created this mock test in Blackboard in my calculus class. It's actually an online class, but you know, I can still use this to show you how to do this. So I'm going to go to Module 5 because that's where I put it, and it's at the end of Module 5. And the test I'm going to work with is called this mock test for video only. I wanted to show you a test that I had a few students take, and I haven't looked at it yet, but this is what your test will look like after you apply the settings. It will basically tell them that it requires the Respondus lockdown browser. And so, but we're going to just pick a test. So let's say you created a test in Blackboard, and let's say this is your test, okay? So there's the test you've created in Blackboard. If you want to look at the test, I'll show you real quick the test I created. I tried to use several different question types. It's real short. There's a multiple answer question. There's a numeric question. There's a matching question. There's a multiple choice question. And I actually did an ordering question here at the end. So anyway, that's the test. But now, right now, the way this test is set up, let me go back here. The way this test is set up, they can take it on any browser that they wish. So what we want to do is set it up to where they only use the Respondus browser. Now, when I first looked for the Respondus browser, I thought I could actually go here and click on a tool link and find it and add it to my menu, but you can't do that, or at least I couldn't. There might be a way. You actually have to go down here to the course management menu and click on course tools. And so when you click on course tools, you'll see Respondus lockdown browser. And so I'm going to click on that Respondus lockdown browser right now. Okay, now when you click on this, you're going to get this pop-up here that gives you, I assume these are videos. Let me open it in a new tab and just see. Let's see. Not sure why that didn't open. Let me just click on it this way and see if it'll open. Okay, so yeah, these are videos that you can use. So if you want to watch these videos, and I think this is the quick start guide, you can look at these if you want to. I won't go through these, but you're welcome to go through these and watch these videos. Now I'm pretty sure these are the same videos. If you'll remember, we were sent an email about Respondus resources here, and in that email we were given some video links, and so I would imagine that these video links are the same that's in that email, but I haven't compared them to make sure, but I bet they are. And also the instructor quick start guide is the same quick start guide that's in this email. If you look in this email, this is one that was resent to me, but the original email actually had a file, and that file was that Respondus quick start guide. So anyway, you actually need to understand it, you need the Quick Start Guide and the email, which I was unaware of, but I've finally figured it out now. So I'm going to close this because I don't need it. Now, when I'm ready to create my test, by the way, there's another video you can click here that explains how to prevent cheating on the online test. So you can look at that video if you wish. But I'm going to go ahead and click right here, continue to lockdown browser. Now, when you go to this lockdown browser, you'll see all of your exams that are deployed. So I've got not only my exams, but my self-checks, my quizzes, my assignments. They're all in there, as you can see. They're all in there. Now, what I want to look for is that exam that I just showed you, right? So let me show you right there. There it is, mock test for video only. And right now it says it's not required, lockdown browser is not required, Respondus monitor is not required. So what you want to do is you want to go to settings. All right, now when you go to settings, it'll say don't require Respondus lockdown browser for this exam. Now, to me, if you click save and close, then you just didn't do anything. So what we want to do is we want to require the Respondus lockdown browser, okay? And I don't think you can not do this if you're going to use this. I'm pretty sure you kind of have to click on this. In other words, what I'm trying to say is I don't think you can use the monitor and not be using the browser, is what I'm trying to say. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and type a password here, and I'm just going to use a previous password that I used, just my name. I didn't put a password in the exam because this password actually, if I believe I'm understanding correctly, actually overrides that password anyway. So I put the password here. If you're not using this, then of course you can use a password in your exam. Now here's some advanced settings. Right here, there's also some password settings. I guess that was the password settings. There's advanced settings. And so let's go through these real quick. Lock students into the browser until exam is completed. And then you can read the explanation there. And it says we don't recommend selecting this setting outside of a proctored environment. And it explains that. So you can look at that. This one says allow students to take this exam with an iPad using the lockdown browser app from the Apple App Store. Now, I'm assuming you would want your students to use the lockdown browser app if you're going to take it on an iPad. So they've apparently got an app for an iPad. So allow access to external websites. So you can read this. Let's see. It says if an exam contains a link to an external website, students can view the page, but all links and navigations from that page are blocked. So I guess for instance, if you ever use like an online calculator like Desmos.com, I'm assuming you could set it up here. If I clicked on this, then I would enter the URL. So but I haven't looked on that, so I'd have to study this a little bit more. But I'm assuming that's what that means. I can let students have access to certain web pages. But I'm going to undo that. And this is enable the calculator on the toolbar, and you can choose scientific or standard, so they can use that calculator. And of course, I'm sure you don't want to use this, but you could also allow printing. All right, so that's the lockdown browser settings. Now, if you want to do the monitor, you don't require the monitor to monitor the exam, and then that way you're only using the lockdown browser. But if you want to require the monitor to monitor the exam, then you click on this. All right, now when you click on this, it gives you some information about the monitor here and so forth, and it flags suspicious behavior and stuff like that. So you can read that, but just so I don't run out of video time, I'm going to go ahead and go to the monitor settings. Now some of these settings you can't change. Like, see how that's grayed out? I can't change the web check. You can preview this if you want to, but to save time I'm not going to. You can add additional instructions. You can edit the text if you want to, and so forth. So you can, this is just instructions that they see. You can preview the guidelines and tips they see. You can take off the photo if you don't want the student to have to show their ID or their driver's license. Student photo. So I think that might be, it takes their picture. Maybe that's taking their picture. Showing the ID here, that might be what I'm talking about. So if you don't want to require them to show the ID, you can do that. Now, it'll ask them to pan the environment. So if you want them to pan the environment, then you're going to have to, choose this if you want them to pan the computer window around to see what's around them, because that's all that does. And you can edit the text there to tell the students what to do as well. And you can't turn off the facial detection check either. Okay, now you can turn these off. So this one prevents students from starting the exam if their face cannot be detected during the startup sequence. And so there's an explanation of that. And I'll leave you to read all the explanations. You can notify students during the exam if the face cannot be detected and prompt it for a fix. So I won't get into that. Let me go ahead and do the advanced settings real quick so that I can get all this done here. Allow another application to use the microphone during this exam. So I'm not sure what that is, but you could click on that to see. Make webcam videos additionally available for viewing on mobile devices. So I don't know, I guess if you wanted to be able to view them on your phone or iPad, maybe you could, but I'm just going to close that. All right, so I've basically just went with the standard settings. I'm going to require the lockdown browser, and I'm going to just leave the settings that it had for the startup sequence, and then I'm going to save and close. Okay, now let me show you, let me go back to the module where the exam is now. And okay, now you can see that it has changed the way this looks. And if a student tries to take this exam on their own, watch what happens. All right, it gives them the instructions, but let me click begin and see what happens here. All right, notice what it says. This assessment requires that you use the Respondus lockdown browser. Start Respondus lockdown browser and navigate back to this assessment to continue. And so it won't do me any good to put in the password here because it's telling me that I've got to have the Respondus lockdown browser. Okay, now this is the video only on how to set up the browser and the monitor settings for an exam. I'm going to do a second video that will show you what happens when a student takes the exam, and it'll also show you how the student has to get the browser, because the student has to go to a specific link and download that browser. So make sure you watch the second video so that way you understand the big picture. And that's all I'm going to say on this one. So I'll see you again in video number 2.